Today, I'm going to walk you through how we add $50,000 to $100,000 of monthly revenue to e-commerce brands through our core growth track system. And we do that by solving the levers that actually need to be pulled to drive real growth. Let's dive right into it. As you can see right here, this is a recent case study where we literally added $116,000 in our first 30 days of working together. When we first came on with the brand in November, you can see in October up here in the top left, were only doing about $16,000 in sales. Then we implemented this exact system that I will walk you through today and added over $116,000 in this month of December. We came on and launched everything in about mid-November, late November, and as you can see, this generated massive returns for the brand, and we scaled it profitably. Very important note here that we did so profitably, because you can spend a ton on ads and just pump top line revenue, but the reality is we want to do so in a profitable manner. We scaled from about $5,000 a monthly spend all the way up to $40,000 a monthly spend to generate $133,000 of sales. And our team is experienced driving growth for seven-figure brands. You can see right here is another brand, year-over-year improvement, as you can see with email revenue and Shopify revenue, 23% increase in year-over-year revenue through email. And we're trusted by over 30 plus brands. So we know a thing or two about what it takes to actually drive growth. My name is Patrick O'Driscoll. I'm the co-founder CEO here at TVG, and I am all about figuring out how we can drive profitable growth for brands in a non-cookie cutter approach and actually figuring out what are those levers, what are those main things that are holding you back from scaling. And over the last few years, we've built a team that's generated over $50 million of e-commerce sales. And these are the main problems that most e-commerce brands face. Inexperienced partners, maybe you're engaging with agencies, freelancers, and other individuals, and big promises and under-delivering, inconsistent growth. You're riding that roller coaster of growth, trying to figure out what's going to take us to that next level. Poor return on ad spend with rising ad costs has become more and more competitive to actually make ads work for your brand. And the other issue is low retention. So maybe you've generated sales through paid advertising and front-end sales, but you've struggled to keep customers around buying again and again and again. And I'm going to walk through exactly how we do that for brands just like yours. Here's a harsh reality. I deal with this all the time, right? Your brand's plateauing. Maybe you haven't figured out why, you've hit a ceiling, or you might even be regressing in your sales. You're wasting tons of money on ads that just simply aren't working. And maybe you're disappointed by agencies or freelancers or even your in-house team that is unable to drive growth for your company. And I'm going to introduce the core growth engine. This is our system for solving growth for brands. First, it starts off at the beginning with converting creative. As you can see, CORE, converting creative, stopping the scroll, and driving action. Creative is the biggest thing that brands need to figure out in 2025 to scale the ad account. It's less so on media buying tactics or ad tactics from 2015, 2016. Now it's all about developing creative that actually drives sales. Next, optimize marketing. Now we know that every single channel should work together to generate sales for your brand. It shouldn't be all reliant on Facebook ads, it shouldn't be all reliant on email, it should be all reliant on Google. And an issue I really see with brands is that if they have multiple agencies, they have a Meta guy, they have a Facebook guy, they have an email guy, they have a Google guy, everyone's trying to claim success for the results that they're generating, when in reality, we should have an omni-channel approach to actually scaling. Next, we have retention. How are we going to retain and upsell all the customers that you're driving through your paid ads? And lastly, expansion and scale. Once we have the metrics dialed down, where we know how much it costs to acquire a customer, what's the lifetime value of that customer, we can figure out how to actually scale effectively. And really this boils down to what I call the theory of constraints. So basically in any business, you basically come up with a true bottleneck. What is preventing you from scaling? And a lot of brands make the mistake of identifying the wrong constraint, and they basically spin their wheels in the sand, or spin their wheels trying to figure out what is actually going to get them to the next level. And so my goal, and whenever I engage with a brand and whenever we do an audit of a brand, is figuring out what is that current constraint, because your business will grow to the level of your constraints. If your constraint at $100,000 a month, you don't know how to break through that, well, you need to figure out what is holding you back and what's the true bottleneck. And so this is a very common mistake and thing that every single business faces, is you're basically going to hit a constraint and we need to smash right through that. And all this starts with a core growth audit. We offer a 100% complimentary audit to walk through and go through your entire brand, figure out your ad channels, figure out your email channels, what's generating sales, what's holding you back, in order to solve what is that constraint in your business. So I'll leave a link down below to book a call with me to have a core growth audit done by our team that has manage and generate over $50 million of e-commerce sales, so we can craft a roadmap that actually drives results. So Here's another issue. This is a big problem in 2025 because ad costs continue to soar. It's only getting more competitive, and most brands are suffering from leaky bucket syndrome. This is when you're pouring tons of traffic to your site. Maybe your site's not converting. Maybe you don't have proper email retention in place to actually grab those customers and upsell them and increase the repeat purchase rate. Most brands are struggling with this leaky bucket syndrome. And so before we start spending on ads, before we start scaling, we need to make sure that you don't have a leaky bucket so that we can keep pouring new customers into the door, and it will actually drive long-term profit, because a lot of times brands are reliant on profitability up at the front, but if we can make as much profit on the back end, that's where long-term success, long-term profit really comes into play. And so pillar one is converting creative. Like I said at the beginning of this, creative is one of the most important elements for a brand in 2025. And it's a science, right? It's not about just throwing graphics in your ad account, hoping they win. There's a science of creative. And I have other videos on this channel you can check out. They're all about the science of creative and how we actually create ads that print money. But as you can see here, a few examples of screenshots and some examples. We have some UGC, user-generated content. That's video content. That's people just like your customers talking about your products in a really raw, authentic, organic way. And then graphic production, being able to produce graphics and stills at scale to test on the ad account and find winners and eventually scale that budget up. This is the big piece that brands struggle with, because in-house, maybe you have some creatives that you work with, videographer, photographer, but in order to meet the volume requirement in order to scale your account, it just requires a lot more data, a lot more feedback from the media buying team to the creative and execution team. So pillar number one is always solving your creative to ensure we have enough content and creative to scale up the account. Next, optimize marketing. Now, looking at everything in an omni-channel approach. So figuring out what you're doing on Facebook, what you're doing on Google, what you're doing on email, what we're doing all over the place, influencer, organic, to figure out where are your sales coming from and how can we make everything work together. If you're just looking at growth in silos, is what we call it, when you're looking at your Facebook ads, your email marketing, we have to look at everything all together, how they speak to one another, how we iterate things, how are we tracking data to ensure that we're actually lining up all our marketing efforts to the North Star of profitable revenue growth. Retention and retargeting. So through email marketing, that's a big lever that most brands struggle with to really retain customers. And email marketing is definitely not dead in 2025. So we always get our partners onto Klaviyo to integrate email and SMS. Now, the main things that we want to see and have built out in that first month are 4 to 6 flows, the main flows that we want in place, such as the welcome series, post-purchase, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, win backs, etc. Get those flows all set up, because flows are those automated email sequences that are working for us 24/7 as customers come to your site. Once we get those all built out, we'll then shift over to campaigns that are those, one-time blasts out to your entire list, and make sure that we have segmentation to ensure that your email deliverability is strong. Most brands that I look at, a big issue is that they might be sending emails, but they're going to spam. The click-through rates are really low. And oftentimes that's because they're either sending to a massive list, they don't have segmentation in place, or there's some design things like very large image files in their emails that are just preventing them from going into the inbox. So retention is massive. Once we have all those things in place, then we start thinking about scaling, right? And so what I look at is our customer acquisition costs, our lifetime value, our site conversion rate, our average order value. Once we look at all those main metrics, then we can start scaling out the budget and start pumping those revenue numbers. But we want to do that in a profitable way. Or if you're hyper growth, understand what the KPIs are to scale aggressively, right? And so every single brand's different on how aggressive they want to be with scaling. And our job is to figure out what those are, what those benchmarks are for your brand, and craft a roadmap to actually scale profitably. And here's how we're different, right? We take a customized approach. So we meet brands where they are. So maybe it's just figuring out retention systems. Maybe it's just figuring out performance advertising. And we look at everything from a full funnel perspective to understand how everything is working together to scale the brand. And lastly, we do a performance-based pricing. So we do offer profit shares in order to incentivize our growth with your growth, right? We really only want to be winning when you are winning. And so just to give you an idea of our pricing, we do have a base retainer, a profit share, and everything is custom scope of work to make sure that we're tackling the things that truly matter. Here's a few high-level metrics. When people ask, okay, what's the ROI? How do we get to that nice high revenue spot? 4 to 6x blended ROIs is our target at a minimum, right? When we're talking about ad spend and total revenue divided by ad spend. Email revenue, our benchmark is 25 to 35% of revenue driven through email. Now, on the low side, if you're below 25 below 20%, then you're probably not leveraging email to its highest potential. If we're at 40, 50, 60 plus, then it's more of an issue of new people coming in the door. So we want to make sure that there's a balance. And if we're in that 25 to 35% of revenue driven through email, that's that healthy sweet spot. And oftentimes, looking at the clients that we work with, they minimum see a 3x return on investment when working with us, just because we're able to craft a plan that is, the focus of ROI, the focus on driving profitable growth for your brand. So our team's based down here in Dallas, Texas. We have a close-knit team and a close-knit relationship with our clients. This isn't a massive corporate agency. We're getting dished off to people maybe overseas or inexperienced junior marketers. Myself and my two co-founders are deeply involved into everything that we do to scale your brand. That allows us to really take things to the next level with constant communication. We have weekly reports and bi-weekly strategy calls to ensure that every step of the way, we're hitting those numbers and we're getting on the right track, because marketing is all about testing things, iterating, and getting constant feedback loops to drive success. And I just want to really make this clear. Email marketing is absolutely not dead. Some brands come on, like they're worried about the email marketing. Oh, I don't want to send too much to my list. Oh, I don't want to do this. Email marketing is massive in 2025. People are still looking at their inbox, and the way you do email marketing is not about just sending promotions and sales to your newsletter list every single day. It's about driving that customer retention, driving value through email so that people look at you and trust you, and don't want to go to your other competitors to buy products in the space. Instead, they'll go to you as the trusted expert because you provide valuable educational content through your email and SMS channels. And so what I'd like to offer you today, if you made it so far to this video, is a free core growth audit. This is the first steps that we take with any brand that comes on to make sure that we look under the hood and craft a plan that actually makes sense. Oftentimes, you jump on a call with an agency or a freelancer and they'll just start running your ads with no long-term goals in mind. We want to look at what are those true constraints, bottlenecks in your business, and craft a plan that we can execute and have realistic expectations to tackle in 30, 60, 90 days, etc. And so that's the whole goal of the audit. Looking at your brand, figuring out those constraints, then crafting a plan that's meant to tackle those constraints with you. And so if you're interested in doing that, please scroll down below in the description. There's a link to book a call with me personally to discuss your brand, your constraints, and how we can craft a plan to absolutely crush it in 2025. Oh, if you're ready to take your brand to the next level, I encourage you to scroll down below, book a call with me personally, and we'll craft that roadmap so you can see how to take your brand and add $50,000, $100,000 in monthly revenue to your brand. And worst case scenario, you jump on a call, we get the whole audit done. And even if you don't work with us, you get an extra set of eyes from a team that's generated over $50 million of e-commerce sales and give you the roadmap on how to potentially even execute this yourself. And if we can help you, we will walk you through exactly what that looks like so that we can take things to the next level in 2025. So I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a fantastic rest of your day. If you want more content, educational tips, tricks, value, real nuggets of wisdom when it comes to scaling your brand, make sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.